Hi, I'm Sai. Welcome to my channel called Nugget of Wisdom. I'm here to alert you to your power. A power that you have with respect to making change within the political system that you've never had before. And there's a very simple reason why you haven't had this power. And that's because to make a decision, you have to have good information. If you have dead information, if you have biased information, it doesn't matter. Your power is wasted because the decisions you make will not be based on the facts or the quality of the stories and the truths that are being told. And our media has been very much intertwined with political parties, with the corporate system, with large-scale financial donors who all have vested interests and are trying to manipulate the consumers to make decisions that align with them. But today, there's a host of media available that has nothing to do with the political parties, that doesn't depend on the revenue from advertising, and that is much more independent and has a much more high level of truth than anything we've ever seen before. And that's really important, because for you, as a voter, you can get some really good information and then make your own mind up about what you think about something. By the way, you're only an ant in an anthill full of millions of ants. But an anthill full of millions of ants is a very, very powerful community. So we also have this amazing tool through the internet which can make it really easy for us to use our power as ants very simply to sort of influence the collective and make decisions that will completely change the face of our political system and change the faces that are within our political system. So what I've done is I've created a video which is linked showing you how you can get good quality information on what I would reckon is one of the biggest topics of news that has been going on for the last few weeks here in the UK. And that is the war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. And if you look at the news channels and the mainstream media, just go into your supermarket and look at the pretty poor coverage from newspapers, and the actual coverage that's on there has nothing to do with the major stories that are happening, the major events that are important to your life. I'm shocked by what I see in the supermarkets. It really makes me feel like we are being treated like total sheep. So you can look at this media stuff and you can get the information you require and start to make a decent decision. And that's why I've also put on there links to the current case that's been taken to the UN by South Africa, basically accusing Israel of genocide. You can see all of the Israeli arguments against, and you can see all of the South African arguments in favour. And you can see them directly. There's no news reporter or somebody spinning a yarn in between you and the truth. You can just listen directly. And then what you can do is you can go, okay, this is such an important issue. This is about the lives of innocent people, children just like my children, mothers just like my mother, being killed every day. I sort of the numbers at the moment, it's about 250 a day. And whatever you believe about it is up to you. I'm not going to try and convince you who's right or who's wrong. From my point of view, there's a huge trauma playing out here. Trauma from people who are pinned into their open prison, who have suffered greatly for generations, and people who have got the traumas of generations of their families suffering, not having a place to call home, the world war in which we saw the most brutal and most horrific things happen to people, all contributing to trauma all around. And just like at the school playground, you've got two very angry boys who want to fight each other, but somebody has to come in and say, stop. Oh, but it's his fault. It's his fault. It's genocide. Everybody, listen. No, stop. Stop. And once it stops, you can then go, okay, now what are we going to do? Now let's see how we can judge who is doing the wrong and who's doing the right. And we can work out the wrong and the right much better with, through a judicial process. But in the meantime, we stop the killing. Because the killing is no good for anyone. It's no good for the Israeli mother with her children, because it puts her in a position of risk from so-called terrorism, of risk from people attacking her and her family because they've lost loved ones who've been blown up for no reason. It puts Israel at risk from all sorts of countries that are turning against them. It puts the Palestinians every day at risk of being killed. Innocent children and babies every day. It puts America at risk of having its reputation totally destroyed. To be seen as hypocrites, endorsing cruel extermination of people. It puts the UK at risk of just being a puppet. And Germany is a puppet to the US. And it runs the risk of terrorism within our own countries. The grief, the anger and the hatred that builds up. That spills over into atrocities then being committed on innocent people in other countries. It also puts the world at risk of a real divide between the West and the global South, which can lead to crazy making, could lead to major regional war or world war. So to stop the killing makes a lot of sense. And we individually have this power, and this is what I really want to assert to you, that all you have to do, and I've just done it, it's really simple. Have a look at the evidence. Decide for yourself what you think the merits of the arguments from Israel or from South Africa are on such a fundamentally important thing. And then write to your MP. And it's easy to write to your MP. You don't need to get a pen and paper. All you have to do is go on, click on a link on my video down here, and it gives you the page. Type in a few words which you can take from the one I sent to my MP. Send. That's all you have to do. Literally 5 minutes of your time to do something that is so important, so wonderful, so empowering. And I know what will happen if a few thousand people contact their MP, and should I say their senator, governor, MSP, member of parliament. And it's easy to go on Google and just type in, what state or region you live in, and up will pop either the website of your member of parliament or government, or some sort of listing that's being hosted by somebody else so you can write to them. It's really easy. And I was in the political system. And from that side of the fence, I know as long as they perceive that we are consumerist sheep and they think that the political messages that they're putting out through the media that they control are getting through, they won't do anything. And you see it. Every time they're asked a question, they procrastinate, they fluff. They do not act in any way that looks like true leadership. You'll see that they're contradictory and biased. But when thousands of us take a few minutes to send that letter, asking them the question, where do you stand and what are you going to do? I guarantee you they're going to suddenly go, oh, gosh, we have a bit of a problem here. And that problem will be at its peak in areas, regions, constituencies where the political parties are close. And they're the ones that decide elections. And if you make it clear that you want to know what their view is on one of the most important issues you could possibly imagine, the killing of children. I can't really imagine any other issue that's more important than this. We all love our children. If a child in the street was hit by a car in your town, what would you do? Would you just pass by? No, you wouldn't. No one would. You'd stop, you'd help that child. You'd go to the hospital, you'd do whatever you could do to help that child. So I know this is fundamental. And we have this amazing opportunity. We can look at that news, that information, get a much clearer picture of what's going on, where we can question the validity of what our parliamentary representatives are actually saying. We get more independent perspectives. And we can use the internet as ants to collectively join together, send millions of these letters to our MPs. I sent mine. I'm waiting for a reply. As I said before, if the reply is not to my satisfaction, I will do what legally I'm entitled to do. I will make sure I will not vote for that MP, because that is such a fundamental thing to me, the killing of children, and my personal view on it, that I could never vote for that MP, no matter what she or he offered, if they don't stand in the way that I wish them to stand. And that's perfectly fine. And good luck to them. And I respect that they'll get votes from other people, but I will not vote for them. And then I will tell everybody, which is what I'm doing now, everybody, what I have done, in the hope that they will go, oh, I'll do the same thing. And then I'll post this on social media, on lots of forums and blogs all over YouTube. I will do everything as an ant that I can do to tell my fellow ants to tell their fellow ants. So that we get to a point where it becomes overwhelming for the political system, that those parliamentarians who know that they're just towing the line, who know what's happening is wrong, and really want to do something, we can empower them. Because what will happen is they'll just go, oh my gosh, thousands of people have sent these letters to me. I have to do something. I want to win my seat next time round. But be warned, I will not accept fluff from these people. I want an answer. Yes, I am going to basically make a stand and say, I totally support Israel and what they're doing and it's not genocide, or I absolutely support South Africa and this is, to me, genocide and it must stop. And even if they don't say it's genocide, I don't give a toss about that. But they say it must stop and I'm going to do everything in my power now as your MP to stop it. To use my power to stop it. If they do that, of course, I will respond to them saying, thank you very much, I'm going to vote for you in the next election. So I'm asking you to basically look at the links I've put on this video and to do what I'm suggesting. Send that letter. Find your political representative. Send that letter. Share it with as many people as you can. And if you do that, I'm 100% convinced that you will, at some stage over the next few weeks, just go, oh my gosh, at last I have a say. At last I can make a difference. I'm no longer just looking, a spectator, looking at the arguments. I'm not listening, just listening to people just trying to, feather their egos with stories about how they're right and somebody else is wrong. That's not going to stop the killing. We don't have to sit there as spectators thinking, oh, this is terrible. Oh, I don't want to hear any more of this. There's nothing I can do. Because there is something you can do, and it's really simple. And on its own, it's useless. But with all those other ants, it's hugely powerful. So please have a look at my links below and get cracking and start to use your power like is your right to do so. And then perhaps many of the faces that we currently see in our parliaments around the world can just go off and do something else with their lives. And new people can come in who have real leadership potential and will make decisions, humanitarian decisions, respectful decisions, their own decisions. Final note here is that two of the most important countries in the world with respect to the wars that are going on at the moment are America and the UK. They also are the ones that like to be the standard bearers for morals, telling the rest of the world how to behave. Those two countries have elections this year. So the opportunity for you to get out there and make your vote count, it's perfect. And I would also say that when you vote, if and when you vote, make sure that you vote for someone. Because if you don't vote, what happens is you leave a tiny percentage of people who, generally speaking, tend to vote parties. You leave them to make the decision. By walking away and saying, I'm not voting, you're actually feeding the dysfunctionality of our political system. So, when you make your decision, based on the information that you got from much more independent sources, you can, once you've got that information and you've made your decision and you've contacted your member of parliament and you've decided how you want to vote in the election, you can just find someone, and there will be someone out there who actually has got a view or some sort of credible policy, argument, perspective on the issue. And you just vote for them. And don't be fooled or put off when they say, oh, but it's no point, that person's from the smallest party. It doesn't matter. The most important thing is that you make your voice heard through the political system and the person that you want to nominate as the representative. And if we all do this, it will transform our political system, change it forever. So, go ahead and use your power. And thank you very much for listening.